Dust swirled through the main street of Dry Creek as the morning sun climbed over the butte. Folks were already gathered in front of the general store, their whispers cutting sharper than the wind. In the middle of the street stood a young woman, wrists bound, eyes full of humiliation and fear. Her name was Lydia Morrow, a newcomer who'd come west with little more than a satchel, a Bible, and a dream of working for the town seamstress. Rumor spread that she'd been accused of theft, a handful of silver coins missing from the boarding house safe. There was no proof, but in a small town hungry for gossip, truth didn't matter much. Sheriff Callan had tied her to the hitching post, his jaw tight. "A day of shame," he'd said, "and then she can leave town." Lydia's head hung low. The rope burned her wrists, her hair tangled in the dry wind. People passed by. Some stared, some turned away. No one dared speak up. No one wanted trouble with the sheriff or the town elders. Except for Eli Barrett, the quiet cowboy who ran cattle along the South Ridge. He'd seen enough injustice in his life to know when something wasn't right. Eli stood near the blacksmith's porch, hat shadowing his eyes as he watched the girl tremble in the sun. When she stumbled, nearly fainting, he stepped forward. "Sheriff," Eli said evenly, his voice low but strong. "That's enough." The crowd hushed. Sheriff Callan turned, his eyes narrowing. "You got something to say, Barrett?" Eli took another step, dust rising around his boots. "I got something to do." He reached for his knife and before anyone could stop him, cut the rope clean. The frayed ends fluttered to the dirt. A murmur rippled through the onlookers. Lydia gasped, rubbing her sore wrists, her eyes darting from Eli to the sheriff. Callan's hand went to his gun, but Eli didn't flinch. "You'd best think twice, Sheriff," he said calmly. "Ain't no law says you can shame a soul without proof." The sheriff hesitated, not because he agreed, but because Eli Barrett wasn't the kind of man you pushed without cause. His reputation stretched as far as his ranch. Steady hands, clean record, good heart. After a long moment, Callan grunted. "You take responsibility for her, then." Eli nodded once. "Gladly." He turned to Lydia, his voice softening. "Come on, miss. Let's get you outta here." She followed him, her legs weak, the crowd parting as they passed. Some whispered, others looked away, but no one dared stop him. That evening, the sun dipped low behind the cottonwoods as Eli led Lydia to his small ranch. A modest cabin stood near the creek, smoke curling from its chimney. He helped her inside, offered her water, and a warm plate of beans and cornbread. For a long while she just stared at the food. "You don't have to be afraid," Eli said quietly. "You're safe here." Lydia's eyes shimmered. "Why did you help me? You don't even know me." Eli leaned back in his chair, gazing into the fire. "Didn't need to know you. Just knew you didn't deserve that." Her voice trembled. "They think I'm a thief." He met her gaze. "Are you?" "No," she said quickly. "I swear I never took anything." "I believe you," Eli said simply. And he meant it. For the first time since she'd come west, Lydia felt her chest loosen. Days passed. Lydia stayed in the small cabin, helping with chores to repay his kindness. She cooked, mended torn shirts, and tended to the small garden behind the corral. Slowly, the fear in her eyes faded. Eli rarely spoke much, but when he did, his words carried weight. He told her about the ranch, the drought last year, the loss of his father, and how the land was both a burden and a blessing. Lydia listened, her gentle voice filling the quiet spaces his silence left behind. One evening, a thunderstorm rolled across the plains. Rain battered the roof, and lightning split the sky. Lydia jumped with every crack. Eli noticed and moved a chair closer to the fire. "You don't have to be scared of storms," he said softly. "They pass." She smiled faintly. "Sometimes it feels like they never do." He looked into her eyes. "They always do, Lydia. You just gotta hold on till the light comes back." Her breath caught at the way he said her name. Slow, careful, as if it mattered. By morning, the storm had cleared, and with it, something shifted between them. Lydia began humming while she worked, a soft tune from her childhood. Eli found himself lingering near the house just to listen. A few days later, He rode into town for supplies. When he returned, he found Lydia kneeling by the creek, washing clothes. Sunlight glimmered off the water, her hair loose and shining. He stopped for a moment, just watching, realizing how much peace her presence had brought. He thought back to the day in Dry Creek and felt a pang of anger at the cruelty she'd faced, but also a quiet gratitude that fate had led her to him. That evening, they sat by the fire, sharing coffee and silence. "Eli," Lydia said softly, "you risked a lot for me." He shrugged. "Wasn't right what they did. I don't know how to thank you." He smiled a little. "You already are." Weeks turned into months. The ranch, once lonely and still, felt alive again. Lydia planted wildflowers near the porch. She mended Eli's coat. They worked side by side, their rhythm easy and natural. Then one morning, Sheriff Callan rode up, hat in hand. "Turns out," he said gruffly, "we found the real thief. One of the stable boys took the money. Guess I owe the lady an apology." Eli crossed his arms. "Guess you do." Lydia stood beside him, her chin lifted, no longer the frightened girl tied to a post, but a woman who'd found her courage. Callan cleared his throat. "Town's ready to make things right." Eli looked at Lydia, waiting for her to speak. She smiled politely. "Thank you, Sheriff. But I think I've already found my place." The sheriff tipped his hat and rode off. When the dust settled, Eli turned to her. "You mean that?" She nodded. "You gave me a home, Eli. I'm not runnin' anymore." He took a step closer. "You sure you want to stay with an old rancher like me?" She smiled, eyes glistening. "You're the only man who ever saw me for more than my mistakes." He chuckled softly. "Then I reckon we both got lucky." The sun dipped low behind them, painting the fields in gold. As the wind brushed the wildflowers she'd planted, Lydia reached for his hand. And for the first time in years, Eli Barrett, the quiet cowboy who never spoke more than a few words, found that he didn't need many to say everything that mattered. That night, as the prairie wind whispered outside the cabin, Lydia glanced toward him. "Eli." "Yeah." She smiled. "You were right. Storms don't last forever." He looked at her, eyes warm with peace. "No, they don't." And under the starlit sky of the endless west, two souls who'd both known loneliness finally found what neither had been searching for: a place to belong and a heart to call home. As dawn broke the next morning, Lydia stepped outside, feeling the cool air brush her face. Eli was already by the corral, feeding the horses. She walked to him, slid her hand into his, and together they watched the sunrise, silent, content, knowing their hearts had finally found peace. The sun rose higher, painting the sky in soft gold and pink, and the sound of the waking prairie filled the air. Birds calling, wind moving through grass, the quiet hum of a new beginning. Lydia leaned against Eli's shoulder, her voice barely above a whisper. Hand in hand, they walked back toward the cabin, the warmth of morning light wrapping them in promise, love, and quiet forever.